Hello, my name is Matthias Cavalli. I'd like to welcome guys to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about late 1980 Spider-Man. It's a really fantastic time for Spidey. We have the team up of David Michelinie and Todd McFarlane, and we're going to cover Amazing Spider-Man issues 304 to 309. They're really interesting issues. I went back, reread this in the fantastic hardcover edition that I have. David Michelinie's work, I think it's so, there's a couple meta commentaries in these issues that were pure joy, especially looking back onto this particular era of comic book and comic book collecting. McFarlane's art, every once in a while you're going to get an awkward pose or something that doesn't work like here, but for one of those you get 20 of these classic illustrations of Spider-Man. Todd McFarlane did a fantastic Spidey. He also added this whole thing of the spaghetti webs that looks so cool. The beginning of the story arc is Spider-Man. The Daily Bugle actually publishes a book of Spider-Man's pictures without telling Peter Parker. He gets really upset. They're going to make money off his name. But he has to go on a book tour. So Spidey's actually just really happy. He started tripping with this. He's going to get a lot of attention. I love the dynamic between Peter and Mary Jane, because this is the first time Spider-Man has the light focused, not Spider-Man, Peter Parker, on him. He's liking the attention. Mary Jane's more familiar with this. She's moderately famous within the context of this comic book. So he's holding Spider-Man's hand, Peter Parker's hand, hey, don't get too full of yourself. The first villain he's going to have to deal with in these issues is the Black Fox. The guy's just a cat burglar. He pops up every once in a while in the Spider-Man comic books. And the thing is, he's going to steal something that's going to get him in hot water, this golden chalice in Los Angeles, just in the museum where Spidey's going to do his book presentation. I also forgot. Spider-Man and Mary Jane had moved to this new apartment, and the landlord is super creepy. He has a thing for Mary Jane, and as the issues progress, we discover this guy has a full-on obsession, and he's 100% creep. So Spidey, in the presentation of his book, crosses paths with the Black Fox, tries to stop him. And again, the art is so awesome. And another thing is, Spider-Man tries to be really intimidating towards villains and aggressive. It was sort of a thing of the time. So, Black Fox discovers he bit off more than he bargained for, because the chalice, this golden chalice that he wanted to steal, the Prowler, who was this hero that every once in a while tussled with Spider-Man, he wants it too. So Black Fox realized that there's something up with this chalice. What's going on is that there's this secret code within the chalice that is going to clean up Prowler's wife's name, who was an accountant for this criminal organization. She had no idea, but they framed her, and for some reason the codes are in the chalice. But the thing is, Todd McFarlane gets an excuse to draw Proto-Spawn. Proto-Spawn, you got the cape, you got the mask, you got the pose, got sort of the claws, even though Spawn didn't have claws, but he liked those creepy poses. So Prowler wants to take Black Fox down. Obviously, this is going to lead into conflict between Spider-Man and the Prowler. But they're going to chat things out, realize Spider-Man, say, hey, Prowler, everything's good with you. I'm going to help you with the whole ordeal with your wife. So the funny thing is, at the end of the story, Prowler is going full-on Spawn here. I really love the obsession of McFarlane and capes. So he captures Black Fox. Black Fox says, "Hey, take the loot. Do whatever you want. I'm not gonna hurt anyone. Just let me go. I want to retire. I'm not gonna do this anymore." And so it's hilarious because Spider-Man says, "Okay, I'll leave you be. If you fuck up again, I'll make you spit out all your teeth." But we go into the next issue where Spider-Man has to go up against the entomologist, the stupidest villain ever. Look at that. Again, fantastic. Such awesome art. And the faces are very distinctive. Everyone looks different. There's a lot of work, a lot of attention to detail. Here's another thing. Look at Black Cat. This, I remember seeing the trading card with this. It's pretty much timeless. Is that there's a lot of references to comic books and comic book collecting in these issues due to the fact that Spider-Man was selling this book, and speculation about the price of comic books and that you become a millionaire. I'm not sure if Todd McFarlane and David Michelinie were the ones that went for this angle, because they really do not see this in good eyes. Another thing is revealed that Spider-Man seems to like reading DC comics, and more specifically Superwoman. So that exists, and you can obviously you can see Action Comics. So later on, we're gonna get a brief battle between Spider-Man and Chameleon, a criminally underused villain. He's such an interesting villain. I really hope they can bring him into the MCU. He's tied to Kraven and to Russia, and you can make him get him involved fighting Black Widow, the new one, because the old one's no more. But that's a really interesting angle. So Spider-Man is not actually able to stop Chameleon. I think he's able to get away. But while this is going down, the creep landlord kidnaps Mary Jane. So in the next issue, we have Sergeant Torque telling Peter Parker about the bad news. Peter Parker pretty much loses his shit, tries to find her, and this actually leads to Peter Parker crossing paths with Taskmaster. I have the standalone issue, got it in the garage sale with a bunch of within the first couple of comic books I got. My dad got it at a garage sale, a box full of comic books. First X-Men comic book that I ever got was this one, and it wasn't my first Spider-Man comic book. But I remember seeing Taskmaster. I thought he was freaking awesome. I love the design. Spider-Man just realizes Taskmaster's not taking him anywhere, but Taskmaster is just a good excuse to use capes again. And Spider-Man realizes maybe it's his landlord. No, actually he doesn't realize it, but the landlord freaks out, contracts Sticks and Stones. These two villains were actually McFarlane creations in the Hulk series. Spider-Man has to fight against these guys, but the hilarious thing is that Mary Jane is able to rescue herself. She actually defeats the kidnapper, takes down two of her bodyguards, and ends up saving Spider-Man. So it's such a cool angle to see that Mary Jane, even though she was kidnapped, she wasn't a damsel in distress. Like, she was able to fix her problem and save her husband at the same time. So I'm going to leave this video here. Go back and read late 1980s Spider-Man. It's freaking priceless. See you guys next time. Bye.